Getting caught by a deception may be one of the worst feelings in badminton. We've probably all experienced this at least once in our lives where we're stuck to the ground, or worse, on the ground, as our opponent play the most unexpected shots. If it happens once or twice in a match, it's mostly just a slip up in focus. But if it happens a lot, then you need to watch this video. One of the biggest reasons people get caught by deceptions is because they move too early. If you're already sprinting in anticipation of the next shot, and your opponent suddenly switches their shot, you're going to get stuck and struggle to retrieve it. And one of the biggest reasons people move too early is because they're scared and feel like they're not fast enough to reach whichever corner they're rushing to. Now, it is often the case that this fear is warranted. You might not have good footwork towards certain corners, so you're compensating by moving forward to those corners a bit quicker, or you might have played a bad shot, in which the following return forces you to move quicker. But in any case, to not get caught by deceptions, you must be comfortable with waiting first. After you serve or play whatever shot, load your legs and be prepared to push off. But don't push off until your opponent actually hits the bird. Here you can see Ginting hovering after performing his recovery footwork. This hover is crucial because it keeps his legs loaded and ready to react right away to Momota's shot, whether Momota's shot is expected or unexpected. So, by hovering like this, Ginting stays in rhythm by not rushing and panicking after hitting a poor quality shot. He also prevents the chances of having to perform a correctional split step, due to the fact that he's not flat-footed while waiting for Momota to hit the shuttle. For most of us, we are strong enough to push to most corners within 3 steps. If you're not, you can practice the shadow footwork to become confident. Just keep in mind that in footwork, we're not afraid of being too slow. We're afraid of moving the wrong way first. When you watch the pros play, it might seem like they almost never get caught by deceptions. When you take a closer look, however, you'll see that they actually get caught pretty frequently. The difference is that pros only get caught in their feet most of the time. Their upper body and core remain stable, which makes the deception much easier to deal with. For those of us who often lose the point from the deception itself, a lot of the time it has to do with our body control. If your upper body is constantly moving back and forth, it makes it infinitely harder to change directions. But if you can keep your upper body still, then you don't have to work so hard trying to push against momentum generated from your upper body, even if your feet are in the wrong position. Speaking of feet positioning, what will help you avoid getting caught by deceptions is positioning yourself according to the shot you played and paying attention to how the opponent is approaching the bird. For example, if you played a fast drop and you see your opponent approaching the shuttle below the tape, do you really need to have your feet side by side for defense? Probably not. Instead, you'll want to have your dominant foot either behind or in front to anticipate the front court or back court. Even if your opponent plays a deception, they're still playing to the front or back court if they're taking the shot below the tape. And this relates back to our first point about not being afraid to wait. When your feet are already in position to move to the corners your opponent can hit to, there's no reason to preemptively move. Just wait for your opponent to actually hit the shot. In many cases, the deception will often lead to your opponent taking the shot lower and playing a worse return. Now, a lot of the time, our problem might not necessarily be about how we handle deceptions, but rather not giving our opponents the opportunity to play one in the first place.
And on both occasions,
most of the time,
when he won those titles, he was
our
unseated.
opponents can only play deceptions when the shot is slow and have time to change their shot. Deceptions are also more effective when the player takes the shuttle early and above the tape due to the number of shot options they have. As such, one thing you can do if you find yourself often getting caught by deceptions is not let your opponent play them in the first place. If you play fast drops, drives, smashes, and faster blocks, it's much more difficult for your opponent to suddenly play a deception. Placement is also important. It's always helpful to know and think about what your opponent is actually able to play. It's not necessarily the case, even among pros, where they can play deceptions from every spot to any corner with good quality. For example, if your opponent doesn't have many strong deceptions from the middle, you can play your softer shots toward that spot. If they don't have a lot of change in their backcourt, you can play a game that pressures them more in the back and minimize the front court. At the end of the day, however, you won't be able to prevent or ever get caught by deceptions entirely. The pros still get caught by deceptions every so often after all, so you shouldn't necessarily expect yourself to never fall victim to it either. But applying these tips should help you minimize the amount you get caught. First, you must recognize that in footwork, we're not necessarily afraid of being slow, but rather moving the wrong direction first. Wait until your opponent actually hits the bird before moving. Second, work on improving your body control, where your upper body will stay relatively still regardless of the direction you push. This will keep you more stable and allow you to get to the shuttle even if your feet get caught in the wrong direction. Third, learn to anticipate by thinking about what shots your opponents can realistically play in response to your shots. Then adjust your feet positioning to cover those returns. And finally, make the right shot selection like playing faster shots to prevent your opponent from playing deceptions in the first place. The better you get at these 4 things, the less you'll lose to deceptions, and the more you'll win. If you like this video, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss out on future content. As always, let us know in the comments below what you'll like to see next. Thanks for watching.
World Tour final.